So, welcome to another episode of the Anything Gender podcast. I am your host, Charmin Prince, and today I have Isaac here with me. Isaac, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And let me introduce you to Isaac. Isaac is the founder and executive director of Mordacai Care Foundation of Nigerian, MoCA Fund. A seasoned expert in social and humanitarian fields with a focus on gender-based violence advocacy and improving the lives of vulnerable children. With over 10 years of experience, Isaac received the 2023 Community Award with the International Alliance for Women, TIAW. He leads the Giving Tuesday movement in Usun State, serves as a national leader in Nigeria's Good Deeds Day, and holds key positions in various child protection and orphanage. Isaac is a vocal advocate for eradicating poverty and seeking justice for GBV victims. We are honored to have Isaac here as a guest. Isaac, welcome to the Anything Gender podcast once again, and thank you for embracing us with your presence. My first question to you, how did you get into the field of advocating for women in gender-based violence?
It's a privilege, an opportunity, a great opportunity to be here. Going back to your question, early in my growing up in life, around my 17 years, my teenage age, around 17 years precisely, I witnessed a thing that cannot be forgotten again in my life. And that is when I was living with my dad. I was living together with my dad, and my dad has like 4, 5 wives. My mom is the third wife, and he has to come and perform a wifely role on this particular night, as usual. All of a sudden, I just heard the voice of beating. My dad started beating seriously, and she was crying profusely, and she cannot cry out because it was in the night. She does not want many people to know that my dad is beating her. But I was living with my dad also. She was also there also. So she was crying profusely, but she cannot cry out loud. But I heard the voice. And because I heard the voice, I was peeping from my slide windows of my room to them. I was looking directly from my window, and I was seeing how she was crying. And at a particular time, this woman was crying serious. I cannot come out. In our home culture here, in Yoruba land, you hardly, come out to defend where your dad and your mom are having a kind of any issue. You dare not come out. So as I was watching it, I was also crying seriously. I was crying seriously. All of a sudden, my dad carried my mom and carried her into his room. And that was what I know throughout that night. I couldn't sleep, but I know that my dad must have had his way, because my mom does not have anything. She must have submit to him. And I guess as much that my mom has a fitting role in a place of work. Probably the reason why she was not giving consent was basically because she's going to work early the next day. And she couldn't present it to my dad very well. And my dad also was not interested in that excuse at all. All he was interested in is that night performance. And at the end of the day, throughout the night of that particular day, I couldn't sleep. I was trying to play through. Emotionally, I was down. And at the end of the day, I come with a conclusion, a resolute conclusion in my mind. Is it the way I'm going to follow up also to beat my wife when I get married? Or I'm going to make sure that I defend every woman I come across in my life? It was at that particular point, I learned, because throughout the night I couldn't sleep, and I knew it, that my mom, that had been brutalized, was still able to perform her wifely role that night. But very early that night, early that morning, she went to her place of work. She went to her place of work. And until recently, after like more than 35 years ago, she didn't know that I was aware of that situation. She didn't know that I was aware. I was aware. And it was that what I saw that night that made me to come to a conclusion that in my life, if I ever have the opportunity and privilege by God's grace to get married, I will never touch my wife. And I will never marry more than one wife. And I will never allow any woman around me to be violated. These are the summary of what, let me not say emotionally. These are what wired me up to fight for women wherever I am. I cannot open my eyes to see women crying again. I cannot open my eyes again to see children or women, girls being violated. I cannot. It was not easy for me that night. And just like you, we are all women. The reason why, I kept it and I couldn't discuss it with my mom was because I don't want to complicate our emotional trauma. Because I knew that the moment she discovered that I saw that thing that day, it's like, I'm destroying our self-esteem again. So I didn't discuss it with until I got married. It was just recent. It was not just, maybe just last year in December that I just discussed with her. And I told her, do you know that I saw you this day when my dad was beating you up? She started crying. And so this is what wired me up. This is what wired me up. Thank you.
I want to commend you for sharing that story, and also because of your culture, and for honoring your mother and not having that discussion with her for almost 3 decades.
Yes.
I'm very inspired by your story because we have statistics that shows men who are exposed to certain environment continue to perpetuate the culture, the tradition, the behavior. But you do not have more than one wife. You turned around that trauma into advocacy. So I want to honor you for that, right? We need more men like you to share that perspective with more men and boys, so they don't emulate their role models and their parents. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that story. I know you said it's because of that incident, but there had to be something on the inside, value that you've embraced, maybe consciously or unconsciously, something that caused you to know that what your father was doing was not right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. When you give back to a child and the child is like 6 months old, you this woman, when you are breastfeeding breastfeeding, when you are breastfeeding that child of 6 months old, and the child is already, satisfied with the breast stock that he or she is sucking. At a particular time, that child will bite with his not growing teeth,
His gum.
with his mouth, with his gum, will bite the breast, the what we call now the breast nipple, and mothers, they will slap that, they will beat the baby, that what the baby is doing is wrong. So they will beat that baby, they will slap the baby at the cheeks of his mouth. And at the end of the day, you will notice if the baby keeps doing that, and the mother also keeps correcting by beating the baby, you will notice that that baby will know that that biting of the nipple of the breast is wrong. I told you earlier on that I was 17 years old then. You cannot tell me as a 17 years old, I will not know what is right or what is wrong. Several occasions, mommy and daddy, instead of beating each other, they do have a nice time, and nobody will hear their voice. They will just be, whispering to each other, and all you hear from them is that the two of them are in a very good mood, and they will be laughing, smiling. But when you hear that one is crying, definitely there is a conflict. I knew that there was a conflict, and I also knew that that conflict, what gave birth to it, was because my mother was to come and perform a wifely role that night. And because she's coming to give an escape, because I knew before that day that she's in a morning duty at hospital, at a teaching hospital in my community. She's working in a hospital then, and she's on morning duty. And so she must report at morning hospital duty by 7 a.m. So I knew probably she was given that excuse of going to work early the next day. That it's not that she's saying no to a wifely rule, but my dad refused to accept the escape. And the reason why I knew that that thing was wrong, the beating was wrong, is that in a situation where you are beating somebody, an elderly person like that, and she can't beat back, she just kept crying, and you kept beating. Wow. If I'm a father and I keep beating my daughter, and my daughter keeps saying, sorry, daddy, what is expected of me as an ideal father is to also stop beating. I shouldn't keep beating when she kept crying. So my mom kept crying. My mom kept crying. My dad kept beating. And I couldn't hear whether she's stopping because they are very close to each other. So what I'm trying to say is that at that age of mine, which is 17, I knew that beating an elderly woman like that is not welcoming, it's not accepted, it's not good. They could have resolved that issue in a very polite, amicable, a man should know how to maneuver things. Okay, please. Sometimes you can, because of what he wants. What if he pleaded by frustrating and do every other way aside of beating? Is it only why you beat? That is when the woman can comply to what you are asking from her. No, it's not until you beat. You can at the same time still use another method. Okay, but you can plead to her. I understand that, okay, you don't want, but please, I am up there. I need you. I am seriously hurt. Please, I need. She's a woman. She has a whole right. But nothing like that is observed in our culture. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that I knew it was wrong because he kept beating. My mom kept crying. And he didn't stop beating. And the mom kept crying. So if somebody is crying profusely like that, I want to believe that all that the person is saying, even if he did not voice it out, is that please stop beating. Sometimes we come to a conclusion to say that actions speak more than voice. If I'm beating somebody and the person is not beating back, it's not, it's not beat, he was not fighting back. It's like he's in a submissive mood of I surrender. So why beating? That is the time I concluded that beating at that time is wrong. It's an elderly woman. Beating her will not correct, will not bring what you want off. You are already oppressing, intimidating, and taking her as a slave. That is what really affected me to know that that's what dad has done. It's wrong. It's wrong. I can't take him to tell him. I never discussed it with my dad, but I knew. I never discussed it with him, but I knew that that's wrong. How will I beat a woman to the point of shedding tears, carry the same woman to the bed? It's somehow. Because I also, if I beat a woman like that to bed, and I still want to enjoy the woman from my bed, no. I knew that it's out of total surrender to all our elderly men there. I knew that my dad cannot enjoy that night. He can't. Because the person that you are beating to the point of total surrender is just allowing you to do whatever you want to do and let me go. No enjoyment, no participation.
I want to thank you for sharing and for having your own innate values and principles to know that wasn't something that you want to continue and you would actually practice, but it pushed you in a direction to actually become an advocate. When did you start your advocacy work?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much. I started the advocacy work exactly 10 years ago. Hello? Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
I started the advocacy work.
Go ahead.
Okay. I started the advocacy work 10 years ago. And ever since then, we have series of work. We've taken series of cases to court. We've taken series of cases to family court. And as I speak with you now, we have more than 3 cases that is going to appear again in court in this new month. We have one in June 6th. We have one maybe by middle of June, and another one is with us even yesterday. So we have series of if I can give you a total summary of the cases we've attended to in the past 10 years, we will have something like close to 70 cases, cases that are been to court. But the one that we mediate between the couple, between the survivors and the perpetrator, there are some like that we have to mediate, and we eventually come to their term, and they also come to our term, and we were able to resolve the matter with them. So at present, we have cases up to like 70 that we are taking to court.
Congratulations on that. In working with GBV,
yes,
what are some of the common trends or commonalities that you have found in the cases that you're working with?
Basically, one of the things that we find out that is a major cause poverty in Nigeria. There is very serious poverty in Nigeria.
I want to say poverty is not just in Nigeria. Around the world, many victims, many survivors share the need for financial support. I think it's a global phenomenon that women are exposed to.
Yes, yes.
So according to the statistics, women leave and return 7 to 10 times before they leave completely. Have you seen that?
I've seen that is part of what we are advocating for, that in our government, in our political rights, we are trying to advocate for women to also come up in the government, to come up in the political position. Okay. So what we are advocating for that to be implemented across Nigeria, that we want a particular percentage of women in our government, in their politics. And they started that now gradually. As we speak now, we now have a very low, it's not yet 30%, but we have a particular number of women in our legislative arm of government. They have at least, if not 15, it's now close to 20% of women in our legislative arm. And what we are advocating for is that we want at least 30% to start with. And so the government are promising us that they're going to work towards 30%, but as we speak now, we have close to 15% of women in legislative arm. And in policies, like talking about the government of each state, we have some women who are the deputy governor. There was a particular year we have a woman, she won the election as a governor, even though it was manipulated again and she was removed. But what we are trying to say here is that we are advocating for women to also come up, to have the courage and the confidence in themselves, because majority of women in Nigeria are scared. They don't want to, buy any particular political position with men, and it's all because of what men are doing to each other. They are killing each other because of this position. They want to do all sorts of things to make sure that they assume that particular position. But women are being, encouraged. We are sensitizing them. We are giving them our support, our encouragement to go and vie for any position, of their interest, of which we know that if they go out, that coming out itself is something that will speak volume, because the news we carry, the international community will know that women are coming out boldly. And the moment they come out boldly, the campaigns and all sorts of things can also be sponsored by international bodies. So we are trying to make sure that we don't want one woman in 2010 in a 10 men in terms of political position or in our government. What we are advocating for is that if you are counting 10 men, at least you should be able to see 3 women among them that are also in our state, for example. We have like 20 to 22 commissioners, and we have some up to like 5 women who are also commissioners. So we are, and that is how it is in so many states. In fact, we have some states that are even having more than 5 commissioners than what we have in our state. So we are advocating for that.
Congratulations to those women in Osun State who are commissioners, because I know that they are faced with a patriarchal system, and have to navigate that system in order to serve. It takes a lot of boldness, a lot of courage, a lot of grit for them to function within that capacity, and that's great. How do you deal with a woman who is a victim in a traditional community? How do you raise awareness in those communities? And are you accepted by the chief? I'm excited to hear that.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you. Well, we're taking this advocacy also to different traditional communities that are marginalized. We're taking this our advocacy to them. And what we do is that we first of all secure the permission of the king, the traditional ruler of the community. And the moment we were able to penetrate that traditional ruler in having a courtesy visit to the palace, giving the orientation, the purpose why we are seeking the traditional ruler to the king. At the end of the day, we will come together and pick a particular day where all the community people will come to the palace, and we will be able to talk in the palace, in the presence of the king, and all the women, all the men, all the youth, they will be all seated. And we'll be able to sensitize them, to let them know that men have rights, women have rights. But one of the things that we've been able to do that we know that they don't know in those communities is that 87% of them do not know that if their wife if they beat their wife, it's an offense. They don't
Could you
know.
repeat that percentage for me?
87%. 87%. 87% of men in those marginalized communities, they do not know that.
I just want to re-emphasize that. In those traditional communities, 87% of men are unaware that beating their wives is a crime, and they can be convicted
under law. Yes, they are not aware. And that is why we sensitize them in the presence of their wife, in the presence of their king, in the presence of their children, so that everybody will know. So nobody will be keeping quiet. And what we are also indirectly doing is that we don't want the culture of silence to continue. We are trying to stop the culture of silence. That is why we discuss it. We do the sensitization in the presence of the king, in the presence of their wives, in the presence of all the youth and their children, so that the culture of silence will not be promoted. The culture of silence will be eradicated. That is why we are doing that. And the moment we are able to convince them, we will also show them the VAT law. Let me look for VAT law. We will also show them VAT law that this. I'm going to show you VAT law today. I'm in the office. So we will show them VAT law, which is written in Yoruba and in English. We will show it to them that the law is there for anyone that violated the law will be convicted and will serve the jail term that is attached to that offense. So the moment they are aware, most of them they start the visit. They call us because immediately we finish the sensitization. What we do is that we inaugurate a community response team in that community that will monitor anybody that beats. So if you beat your wife, the community response team will hear it and they will call us. The community response team will call us, and the moment we are called, We will go there unknowingly to them and carry the person to the police station straight. So they don't want something like that. They don't have money. They don't want problems. So some of them have stopped beating their wife. They have stopped. Even the king, most times, tell us that he is enjoying the peace in his community. So we've been able to do that because we discovered that 87% are not aware of violating their wives. That if they do that, it is a crime under the violence, what is it now? VAR, under VAR, which is violence against prohibition. So once we do that to them, they all come to terms, because we also take something here, like they have to assign their signature that any case reported in this community will deprive the community from our intervention, deprive them from our whatever development we want to do to their community. And they all find that there is no violence, if violence is not allowed in their community. So they already signed so many documents. The women leader, men leader, the youth leader, the ex-professional, the principal, these stakeholders also sign these documents with us. And they all work together with our community response team. And that in case anything like this happens, we are the first people to be contacted. And the moment they contacted us, there is no going back. And so we have been able to minimize violence to minimal level in so many communities in my state as we speak now.
And it's a very proud moment, because I understand tradition, understand culture, I understand the impact it has on societies and communities. And for you to enter a close community and receive such positive outcomes is a testament to the work that you're doing. How do you get the king to accept? So I'm sure that even listeners may ask the question, how do you get buy-in from the king?
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you hear me very well? All right. So each time we want to pay a courtesy visit to a king, a traditional king, we, is part of our culture. We don't go to a king empty-handed. We will package something like a Pomba harvest bag. We'll package it and put so many things inside the basket, like food, wine, put so many things. And we also prepare a particular small envelope here is money. You put money there. And so when we get to the presence of the king, after the greeting, after the normal greeting, we introduce ourselves to the king, where we are coming from, what we are doing, the name of our organization, what the organization has been able to do for past years. After that short, brief introduction, we'll come to time to say that, king, this is your gift. We'll put, in fact, that gift will be so conspicuous. We'll put this in a place where the king will be seeing it. And we already knew that is what we brought for him. And the moment that gift is accepted, it shows in our culture here that we are welcome, we are accepted. So what the king take our gift, it is kind that we are accepted and we are welcome. And later, what we discuss later is that how to now organize a day that we will have the opportunity to talk to the community people. But the king would have followed up. The moment the king says, call one of his sheep to carry the gift inside, they are accepted. And for your information, there is no king you appear before him with all this package of gifts that the king will turn you down. Because the moment the king cited that basket of different kind of gifting types, the king is already aware that you also have a part of that basket that is an envelope following that. And that envelope is going to be taken by the king himself. So it's a normal culture. It's not a way of driving or trying to know. It's our culture which we respect so much and which we must pay attention. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. It is so great that you understand your community and your culture, and you are following the tradition in order to be effective in your advocacy. Where do you see Mordacai in 3 years?
Powerful office for Mordacai Foundation, because as we speak now, we are yet to have a permanent office. But in the next 3 years now, I think it's an editing office. I see a very powerful care center for GBV survivors in support of vulnerable orphans. Also, we will build this together. The GBV survivor care center will directly opposite each other. Mature adult women with children, they will both have their caregivers who will monitor them. And while the survivors are emotionally, going through the healing time, we will have them exposed to different skill acquisition. And simultaneously, that goes for the vulnerable children, who will be going to their different schools, public school, private school, and when they come back, both in the holiday time and during the school hour, we still expose them to skill acquisition programs that will be going on concurrently. Apart from that, I want to see Mordacai Care Foundation of Nigeria established in the United States of America in the next 3 years. Thank you.
Woo! I like that you are thinking out of the box, where you would have the survivors and the orphans in the same compound, on the same campus, because those women can become mentors to the orphans. It's a great prototype. I really think that it can be effective, and I like what you're doing. I like the work that you're doing. I like that you are infiltrating the traditional communities and raising awareness and educating the men. I wish you continued success.
All right. Let me first of all say a big thank you to Sammy Singh. We are connected on the workforce recently, and it's been amazing knowing big women on that workforce. And I want to really say thank you to Queen Sammy Singh. I call her Queen because I know big women like her are the ones doing this kind of thing. And I want to say thank you to you. I really appreciate it's not taken for granted. I'm honored having you on this podcast. And I promise my relationship with you is going to be, progressive. My relationship with people, by the grace of God, for a while, I think is very progressive one. And I must say that here that it's going to be a progressive relationship. It's going to be a mutual relationship. Both of us are going to be, benefiting from every time, when we relate to each other. So I want to say a big thank you, and I promise, just let me know. I want to make sure that women are honored. Thank you.
Thank you. And what I plan to do with this podcast is that within a year, we will have all of our guests back on the platform to assess and talk about your progress and to see where you are, because this podcast actually came out of a training that I did on gender equality with the University of Pretoria, and this was my capstone project. So I want to do a longitudinal follow-up with my guests in a year, but we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, listeners, for being a part of the Anything Gender podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Anything Gender podcast. This is Charmin Prince, reminding you to keep exploring. Stay courageous. Embrace the